Time now for the Saturday special on AM 1080 KSCO.
Josh Stevens, may I ask you a personal question?
You sure can.
When do you think how soon do you think we're going to be referring to President Harris?
Wow. I didn't know
it might be as early as Inauguration Day. What do you think?
No, I'd say you got to wait at least 8 months. I'll give it 8 months because you know how they're
already going after him now. They're going after Biden, and he's going to have to step down in disgrace. I didn't hear Rush, but Dave Michaels, you did yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't Rush suggesting something along that line?
It was Todd Herman who was filling in for him, and that's what he suggested. He suggested that the media started coming out with this Hunter Biden story now because they want to disgrace and do everything to force Biden to step down so that Kamala Harris can take office even faster. They don't have to wait for him to die or lose his mind. They can do it now with the scandal that's out there.
Sort of makes sense, don't you think, Josh Stevens?
Well, that is the narrative you were going for. Okay, I was thinking regards to health.
It's just fascinating.
Right, but I was thinking health reasons. I thought you guys were going to be like, oh, he's going to like croak over and then it's going to default to Harris, not because of scandal-related matters.
Okay, it doesn't matter. We all agree that it defaults to Harris no matter how and what happens, really, as long as he is no longer capable of being president. 4 months?
4 months for that, 8 months for him to get too stressed because you know how the transition of presidents work and how gray their hairs get as they continue their term in office. So, yeah, the stress will definitely cook him, if not the Biden thing.
Well, you know what, MZ? I personally, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'm hoping that Joe Biden stays in good health because the alternative is not a good thing. And just because I want people to stay healthy. Now, Josh was talking about stress. Maybe we should send Joe Biden a bottle of de-stress. This is one of the many things we have in for sale out at the Dave Cave. De-stress. You would think it has a lot of vitamin D. It's really loaded with a bunch of vitamin B.
It's got a lot of stress in it.
It'll make you feel...
it'll de-stress.
It'll de-stress you. This stuff is going to make you feel fantastic. It's all vitamin B, natural, pick-me-up. It's a natural pick-me-up.
Dave,
de-stress. Yes.
I need to make a commercial for that because this is absolutely, positively true. When I don't... on days when I don't take de-stress, I look back at the end of the day. I said, that was a very stressful day. I wonder why. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I remember that I didn't take the de-stress. Mm-hmm. And on days when I do take the de-stress, I said, that was sort of a mellow day. Yeah. Anyhow, we got a deal, do we? We do.
We just got our Tangy Tangerine in yesterday. So now we have the canisters as well as the boxes. The deal is, MZ, buy your BTT at regular price. And
whether it's a box of packets or the canister or tablets,
whatever it is, buy BTT at regular price. And everything else after that is a 30% discount. Now
everything else except BTT. If you want to buy a bunch of, and the reason we don't want to, we're not just being mean here. BTT is in very short supply,
right?
And only people who are not very bright would put something that's in very short supply and not easy to obtain on sale.
Well, the thing is,
we might fit that description, but we're not going to do it right now.
Most people go in there to buy the BTT anyway. So for most people, this is going to be no big deal. You get your BTT like you usually do.
And while you're there, pick up a bunch of gifts and stuff for the others.
Sure.
And you got books there. You got some books. You got plenty of KSCO gear.
Yes.
Flight 1080 gear.
Yep. Yeah, we've got all that stuff at the Dave Cave. I'll be out there until 2 p.m. today and all week, next week from 12 till 7. Again, buy your Tangy Tangerine at regular price. The Tangy Tangerine is not on sale. Buy your Tangy Tangerine at regular price, and it will activate your 30% discount.
Great.
Buy your BTT at regular price, and it will activate your 30% discount.
For that month, right?
Right, for that month, right.
Right. So that people can come back later and show proof, or you'll remember probably, that they are activated for the sale price on everything else but BTT.
And all you have to do is buy a can of BTT, which you need to do anyways.
Right.
Buy your BTT at regular price. Everything else is 30% off. BTT is not on sale because we just don't have enough to do that. But we do have enough to get you hooked up with that. Buy your BTT at regular price and get 30% off. MZ, I don't like to flash and talk about a lot of new products that we have. Youngevity has 1,000 products, if not more. This Collagen Plus, though, and collagen peptides, is fantastic. This stuff is fantastic. Now, this one I'm holding is the unflavored version. it's kind of cold outside. People are making coffee and warmer drinks. You can mix this into your coffee. You can mix this into your hot chocolate. It's fantastic for your bones and connective tissue.
Is there anything that's illegal to mix with?
I don't think so. I don't think so. This is a good way to get your collagen, MZ. And again, this is all hydrolyzed, so it's easily absorbable. It's not like you're chewing on a cow hoof or anything like that. This is good stuff. This will be absorbed.
Wow.
And we've got this on sale as well. Buy your Tangy Tangerine at regular price, 30% off the rest.
Now, if you don't want to buy, if all you want is something else, you don't want any BTT, all you want is something else.
Then we charge you double.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. So then we make up for
Get your BTT. Everybody needs their BTT. I'll be out at the Dave Cave until 2 p.m. MZ, and then all next week from 12 till 7. If you're listening to this as a rebroadcast or you're listening to the podcast, and you missed the sale or you miss the products that we have, go to kscohealth.com. You don't always get the sale prices, but if you can't find what you want, go to kscohealth.com and you can order it there. They'll deliver it to your house. And it's a win-win situation.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Jim, one of our guests today, has sent me a text saying I'm connected on Opal.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, Jim's on Opal.
Yeah, but is Opal here?
I don't know if it's there or.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
Josh
Here it is. I see. Hey, Jim, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
All right. But where is the other attorney, the one that you couldn't like anyway? Where is he? Where is M. Dean Sutton?
Where is he?
Yeah, where is he? You know what? I think I might have screwed up. He said, should I come in or should I call in? I said, probably call in. That makes it easier. You can do it in your pajamas or whatever. I think I said I was going to call him and we could talk about that, whether he comes in or... So I screwed up because I didn't call him. Maybe that's what happened to Dean Sutton, the man who's an attorney, but you can like him anyway.
Well, I'm sure he's listening, and I would be expecting his call soon.
Okay, yeah, 479-1080.
Right,
and then thank you, Dave, and thank you. Josh, did you answer? Yeah, you did answer my personal question.
I sure did. But you are in personal question debt. You owe at least 3 of them.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's Dean Sutton. Have him call him back on the VIP line that nobody knows. Okay, Josh Stevens. He probably can't hear me because he's talking to M. Dean Sutton. Let me ask you the personal question, Jim. Too.
Yes.
Did you hear my personal question to Josh?
Was it the how long do you think we'll get until we get to President Kamala Harris?
President Kamala Harris. Yeah, how long?
You know, I to be honest with you, I honestly don't have a strong opinion. I have a guess. I'd figure about a couple of years.
Okay.
But I point out the irony in that compared to what we were dealing with when Trump won in 2016, a lot of people were wondering if Trump would finish out his term.
Sure.
Right, that he'd be gone within.
And maybe he will, and I hope he does, because I'd rather have him than her for sure. Now I'm not racist, and I'm not. I thought I'm loud enough. I'm not.
No, your other guy.
Oh, Jim. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, Jim, I'm supposed to crank you up, and I have. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. So, anyhow, M is there. Here, let's talk to M. Let me bring M on and lock him in like so. M. Dean Sutton. How are you feeling? How are you feeling
I'm
today?
fine. I misunderstood. I think you were going to call
I
me.
think I screwed up. I told you I was going to call you and we would decide on the phone whether you came in or stayed.
I'm sitting like a teenage girl just sitting by the phone waiting for the boy to call. So good morning.
Do you know Jim too, who is also an attorney that you can like anyway?
I'm afraid I do not have the pleasure. Hello.
Okay, well, Jim is a regular guest on Tuesdays on Dave Michaels' Flight 1080 show
Yes,
for quite a while.
I have listened to him with great interest, but I just don't know him.
Oh, okay. Well,
Pleased to meet you, Dean.
yeah. Okay, great. The reason I thought that it would make sense to have 2 of my favorite attorneys on the Saturday special is because I've been thinking about this a lot recently and over the years here and there. And what I'm talking about is the concept of a national initiative. Now, there are state initiatives all over the place, right, where people who want to get something, take something to the ballot for the electorate to vote on, like propositions and so forth. Just about every state, I think, has that kind of a thing. And when I was in high school, they talked about initiative, referendum, and recall. And you know, I've often wondered why there's no such thing as initiative, or a national initiative, or a national referendum. And I never really did a show about it, or asked our audience, or had guests on, you know, to talk about that, or make it a subject. But this week, when it became so apparent to me that what's going on with big tech, I believe that big tech, in concert, in close cooperation with the Chinese Communist Party, stole the election. Yes, I believe that, ladies and gentlemen, in the deepest crevices of my heart. That's what I believe happened. And the power of money and the power of big tech got together and did a number on Trump and all of his supporters. Okay, that's what I truly, truly believe. I could be wrong, okay, but it got me thinking, how did the high-tech companies, we know how China got so rich, you know, there's no such thing as anything that isn't made in China anymore, right? And that's been that way for the last 30 or 40, 50 years, right? But I started thinking about what made the high-tech companies rich. Well, sheer numbers, so that little ordinary media companies like KSCO and the newspapers and the printed magazines are pretty inconsequential these days compared to high-tech social media, right? Where they give you subscriptions for free, you know, and they give you something of value, like email addresses for free. Something of value, and in the process, they suck you in and make themselves incredibly powerful just in terms of numbers. All that is fine. They deserve their success for being smart. Now I'm going to say something that some people are going to think I'm crazy, okay? Not only is it fine, they deserve all their success for being so smart, they also are entitled and have every right to censor people, to censor anything that they don't want on their platform, because they're privately held companies. Just like KSCO has the right to ban callers that we don't want to grant access to our 10,000 watts of local and a little bit of, you know, national, because of the internet coverage, okay? A lot of people have said, "Oh, you ban me because you don't have the right to do that because you've deprived me of my First Amendment rights." People are so friggin' stupid. I can't believe it. They don't understand that a private business can censor anybody the hell they want. Okay, it's the government that is bound by the First Amendment and freedom of speech and so forth. Anyhow, every time we have a problem with a talk host or with a caller who causes problems, and someone on our staff decides that caller should be banned, we're accused of violating people's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, and that's just not the case. So, Google, Facebook, Twitter. All of these companies that have been in the news lately for censoring, like Joe Biden's son's news stories and keeping it from the public who, you know, might not be so plugged into politics and elections and so forth. That's their right to do that because they're a privately held company. A very, very big privately held company that might be subject to breaking up through the antitrust laws, and I think they're starting to talk about that now, right? But what's wrong about the high-tech companies is that, as I understand it, they have a special pass that nobody else has, no other business has, okay? When you're in business, there's a good chance you're going to get sued by someone who doesn't like you or thinks you didn't treat them well or whatever. It's my understanding that these high-tech companies have been granted by our government a pass, and I think they call it Section 230 of something or other, okay? And the guys on the, who are the guests today will set me straight on all that. That's what needs to be changed. That's what needs to be changed. They need to not have this immunity from being sued, because they can become, there's no limit to how powerful and rich these companies can become. And there shouldn't be a limit, but they shouldn't be aided and abetted by the federal government by giving them a special privilege that nobody else has. And that's what needs to be changed. I've known about that ever since I interviewed the first time, about a year ago, maybe it was a little more, Zach Voorhees, who's the Google whistleblower, the guy who had a really nice, very highly paid software engineering position with Google, wasn't political at all. But right after Trump was expected, to the horror of so many people, particularly in the high-tech industry, Google decided to become very political, and their stated purpose, at least to their employees, was to get Trump the hell out. And Zach wasn't a particular Trump supporter. He just didn't think it was right that a platform should get political and be immune from consequences. And he's so right. He's so right. Ever since I interviewed him, I've been thinking about that. And they're talking about it now with the hearings with Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and so forth. But I believe, and again, I could be wrong, I don't think I am, I believe there is no way in hell that the legislators, that the Congress, the senators or the Congress people are going to vote to deprive the big tech companies of this special privilege they have of not of having a free reign, and they can do anything they want and not have to worry about being sued. Okay, I don't think there's any chance in the world of those companies, of anybody voting to take away that privilege from because if they do, they're going to become toast. The high-tech companies are going to become against them just like they have been against Trump and so forth. And once the high-tech companies, who are in bed with and in the pockets of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, for those of you who haven't listened to our program, China Über Alles, we've done about 15 of them, 2-hour programs. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world. There is no such thing as a talk radio program that is devoted purely to alerting the public of the evil danger and the immense danger that China poses to our country. Anyhow, if you haven't heard it, go to ChinaUberAlles.com, on ChinaUberAlles, ChinaUberAlles.com, or tune in 2 o'clock from 2 to 4 on Thursdays. Anyhow, I keep digressing here. I'm going to finish up my rant in just a minute here. Because I believe that members of Congress are not going to have the balls to get high-tech upset with them, because they will basically be signing their death certificate, figuratively, about being reelected and so forth, and maybe even worse than that, for all I know. I mean, the more I learn about the Chinese Communist Party and their forest organ harvesting and human organ harvesting, it just scares the bejesus, scares the hell out of me. What they're capable of doing. What do you want, Josh?
Speak up a little more.
Oh.
Or
Speak up?
Or get closer to your mic.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Much better.
Appreciate it. That's why I think there needs to be a national initiative process where people can get together and circulate a petition to put something on the national ballot, not just the local or state ballot. And I don't understand why that there isn't a mechanism, and there hasn't been since day one. I just don't understand it. And maybe the guys who will be guests with me today can explain that to me and you. Jim Twu, who is a guest on Flight 1080 with Dave Michaels every Tuesday, and Dean Sutton, who has his program Thursday nights, Law of the Land, here from 8 to 9 on Thursday nights, are the guests today. So, okay, let's see. Dean is locked in on the phone, and Jim is on the Opal here. Who wants to go first? What am I wrong about wanting, or am I unrealistic, guys, about maybe there's a reason that there's no national initiative?
I'll let Dean go first, but my short answer before Dean goes is yes, you were misunderstanding it, and yes, there's a reason why we don't have a national initiative. But Dean can go first.
Well, thank you for pitching that. Well, step one, the United States Constitution, our Bible, our guiding light and controlling document, the supreme law of the land, has a provision to amend it already. I know. Just a minute, MZ. I know you think it's impossible, it's bulky, but for the listeners, Article 5 says that Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments, and it has to get approved by 3/4 of the states. That's how you change the Constitution, and it's happened many times. We have several amendments to the Constitution. You think, I believe, from our prior conversations, that that's too bulky, Congress would never do anything that the people really want, and it's too expensive and long-winded. We need it.
If it's going to cost them their jobs, because going against high tech would probably cost them their jobs.
Well, okay. Step two, just analytically, the way it's set up, we don't have a direct democracy. We have a representative, system where we vote in people to go to Washington to vote for us.
Is that that's what's called a constitutional republic?
Indeed, very good. That's exactly right. If you can keep it, said Benjamin Franklin. And as we know, the people, for example, don't elect the president. Monday, the presidential election will occur. In each state, we voted people, we call them electors, and they're going to go into a room and they're going to vote, and the winner of that vote will be the president of the United States. That's how we do it. We don't have a direct popular vote for the president. That's what, strategically and the way it's set up, that was the little states were worried that the big states would just stow them under. People in Iowa and Wyoming are worried that the people in California and New York would just wipe them out. So that's why we have the protection, very unfair protection, for the small states and the people in them. Okay? So now, and you're talking about political. Why would you seem to think that a direct initiative would somehow be a remedy? What makes you think that the people would fix things if they had a direct initiative?
I don't know. I'm looking at Prop 13 in California. To my amazement, I don't understand why it's still in effect. Because ever since then, multiple times, the people have voted through the initiative process in the state of California, and some liberal judge has overturned it. I don't know why they didn't and haven't done that with Prop 13. I know they're trying, but I don't understand why they haven't. Can you explain that? Well, finish your explanation first, and then we'll go on to the next one.
Well, no, I'll pass it to Jim to see if he has any comments. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I would say that I echo a lot of what Dean says, but just a couple of points. The Section 230 of the Communications and Decency Act doesn't just apply to big tech companies. It applies to anybody with a website. So that would allow people to post comments on. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act basically says that if you're a website owner or you have a website, that if somebody else posts defamatory information on the website, you are not, as the website owner, are not responsible or not legally
if we're
liable.
Considered a platform, right?
Right, you're a platform, right? You just provided the bulletin board for someone to post the defamatory remarks, therefore you're not going to be sued for it. And that doesn't just apply to Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter. It applies to every website. The KSCO.com, if they allow people to post comments on it, it applies to every website, big, gigantic, and very tiny.
I would find that acceptable.
Well, that's the way it is now. And if you have your tiny little website, let's say you have a tiny little website, ilovedonaldtrump.com, and you allow people, you post articles, and you allow people to comment, and people will say, I think you're full of crap. And then you decide, I'm going to censor or I'm going to block that guy from posting on my website. On a very smaller scale, that's exactly the same as what YouTube decided to do when they say we're gonna censor or delete any videos that challenge the election.
Which is fine.
Right.
I think they have a right.
It's a question of scale.
Just like we have a right to censor callers.
Right. So in the sense that CDA 230 doesn't provide big tech with any special immunity, it provides everybody who has a website that allows people to post comments and content immunity. Yeah, so it's not necessarily a carve out for them. Now the question is that a wise thing or a bad thing? If you're a small website,
it's
might
a good
have a
thing,
different
like for us.
Right. And so then the question is, well, why should you exempt Google or Facebook or YouTube from that immunity when you can give it to tiny little KSCO.com? Why the distinction? Right. And my suspicion is that the visceral reaction is because YouTube, Facebook, the big tech companies have so much power and influence, they reach more people, right? And that's true. But the thing is like, okay, but that doesn't necessarily, you're discriminating against them because they're big rather than because they're small, because they're not getting anything special. They're just taking, they're just benefiting more from the CDA 230 immunity. And that, I think, is probably what sticks people's craw, because when these companies first started, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they were open to everybody, right? Anybody can post whatever they want, right? It's open to everybody, and that's why they got successful and big, because anybody could post, and people could prosper. And then when they got powerful and they got big, then they started throwing their weight around. That struck people as wrong, because the initial expectation is that anybody can post. Anybody can post whatever they want, as long as it's not, obscene or otherwise defamatory or whatever. Then they got big, and then they started throwing their weight around. On the flip side, if it was, let's say, National Review Online, right? Conservative website, allows comments, but everyone knew National Review Online is a conservative website, and so people wouldn't be upset because that if they censored liberal opinions, because, well, okay, National Review Online is not a unbiased open platform. They have their bias. So I think that's one of the reasons why people are upset, because YouTube did not start off as, we're only going to allow videos that are favorable to progressive opinions on, and conservative views are not welcome. Facebook didn't start off that way either. Twitter didn't start off that way either. But once they got big, and once people realized that they allowed other people to use their platform to have influence, then they started throwing their weight around. That's what makes people upset. So in that sense, that might answer why you're upset.
I think that's a great explanation. Thank you, Jim. So where are we going to go from here?
Where would you like to go? The national initiative, I can give, Dean Sutton pretty much summed it up. I would just say that the general concept of the United States Constitution, the way the founding fathers framed it, was they did not want to make it easy for the federal government to pass laws. They made it a huge pain in the backside to do it, because they didn't want the federal government to be passing a lot of laws. They wanted more decentralized power. And for a national referendum, do you really want the 50% plus one to decide everything? And I think, most people would say the question is no. On a superficial level, it sounds appealing.
Really?
But it does, because
I would say yes. That's what I'm subject to thinking over. I will think it over, but I would say 50%, as long as the integrity of the election can be ensured.
Well, even then, I would disagree with you, because and again, the founding fathers realized this. The founding fathers realized that you're going to have a big country with people who are very different from each other based on whatever region, wherever you live, wherever you are. So let me illustrate with this as an example. 50% plus one should, if that was the way we decided everything in life, what are we as a nation all going to have for dinner tonight?
Well,
right.
That wouldn't be subject to the initiative process. That's
well,
a personal
why not?
thing.
Why not? Right? If right, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Is like if we had to decide everybody has to eat the same thing for dinner tonight, and we all have to vote on it, right? 50% plus one. Every meal is pizza, right? Even if you don't want pizza for dinner, if 50% plus one says pizza, every meal is pizza, right? And so you don't necessarily. So there are certain things that you don't want to have, collective decision making, or you want to allow the decision making to be more on a local level. So should we allow AR-15s with 20-round clips versus 10-round clips, or no AR-15s in general, right? Okay, California, Santa Cruz might say one thing, Cheyenne, Wyoming might say another, right? But we have a national thing, then everybody has to decide on one thing. And sometimes one size does not fit all. And I think that's the reason why we don't have a nationwide initiative.
Okay, let's see what Dean has to say. And by the way, do you have something that's clicking around somewhere? Because I keep hearing some interference that's irritating. And I know it's not coming from Dean because I've potted him all the way down and I haven't potted him up yet. But I'm hearing funny sounds. Is this just an artifact of the Opal or something?
It could be the fact that I'm on a wired headset, and the wired headset kind of might be brushing my chin as I speak.
That's probably what's going on. Well, yeah. So anyhow.
Yeah. I would normally use a wireless headset, but I think that has more problems.
Okay. Well, we'll see. If it gets too bad, I'll just say there's a different way, or just call on the phone like Dean did. But anyhow, here we are. Dean, that's what Jim just said. I can't argue with much of it, except I think the example of a national initiative whereby people can order, it can be ordained what everybody must eat. I don't see that connection. I just don't. And Jim, you're still up, so you can hear that. I mean, you can comment on that. But.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't worry so much that there would be a national initiative for everyone to eat pork and beans or something like that. But if you have a national initiative, think about that for a second. You just opened Pandora's box. Mob rule is one of the things that the founders very cleverly and wisely designed against. They didn't want a strong, super powerful king, but they also didn't want mob rule. They just didn't want the majority to crush the minority. They didn't want, just whatever seems to be the fad of the moment, take off in that direction, and everybody follows like lemmings. That is more dangerous probably than the slow, ponderous, careful way that we're doing it now. We've had thoughts of controlling the way people get information before. Back in 1918, that era of World War I, Wilson passed Alien Sedition Acts, made it a crime to criticize the president or to criticize the war or to criticize the flag. People were put in prison, and it was a very clamped down sort of situation. The people who brought you the information, in those days, the Facebook of the era was leaflets, and there's many cases. There's Abrams versus United States and Shinnick versus these cases where this is where we get the great phrases from Oliver Wendell Holmes and Louis Brandeis about the government can't censor the information and how it gets to you unless there's a clear and present danger. There has to be a really high standard before anybody's going to censor anything. And that applies, of course, to government conduct. And so the question is, what you're talking about is, should there be some sort of censorship, or should be some prohibition against censorship against non-governmental entities that bring you the paper, bring you the information, the platforms, right? There is one case that's kind of interesting, And that's where there was a shopping center. The stores was owned by the shopping center. The land was owned by the shopping center landlords. They owned it. It was private property. The people were out front picketing. They were leafleting and picketing out front. They said, this is private property. You can't do it. And had them arrested. They were arrested. They went up to the Supreme Court. And they said that the Prune Yard, I think it was, shopping center, that here, this was the equivalent of a public space. In today's world, we walled off everything, and they make these big shopping centers that people used to go to. Things are changing now, but this was the public meeting place. It was the same as or as good as, and people should be enabled to issue ideas and compete in ideas. And you get this idea of the marketplace of ideas. That was Abrams versus U.S. in 1919, an amazing case. Where the idea is that people will compete, the ideas will clash, it won't be pretty, it'll be angry, it'll be so's your mother, but that's what is of value here. And that's why they said that the platforms should not be criticized, shouldn't be sued, but the people are responsible for their own ideas.
Good. That's fine. That makes sense. So maybe my understanding of the pass that's been granted to these big companies is incorrect. I mean, can they be sued now, or only are they only protected from civil lawsuits when it has to do with comments that are placed on their websites by others?
MZ,
what
you veer into a very good and different idea when you talk about them being so big. When you get anybody that's in business and they become the total monopoly of whatever it is, the source of information. If it's if it's AT&T got so big, the only source for phones, they had to get broken up by the government.
Yeah,
you talk
Judge
about
Green in 1984. I remember that because I was
about antitrust.
Yeah,
you could talk about ways to break down the monopoly of the source. If there's only one pipe and they've got the valve, that's a different problem. There needs to be competition. There should be.
The government is addressing that now, right?
I've heard that there's plans to bring I think it's Facebook. Isn't it? Facebook's getting a antitrust claim.
Yes.
And Google is too. I think Google is too. But so there are other ways to skin a cat.
Oh.
Just to say it, right?
We're going to have a taxidermy lesson here from Jim. Go ahead.
Right, but in terms of these big tech companies are misbehaving, or behaving badly as we feel, but repealing Section 230 of the Communications and Decency Act probably is not the way it's going to go. The antitrust might be a way to go because it's not necessarily in relation to their political viewpoint. It's in relation to their conduct as a large market provider that's using their market power to increase their control over another market. I think.
Okay, you're bringing me around.
Yeah. So for Google, I think it was how they control the online advertising space. And I think for Facebook, their antitrust suit is, I think they're trying to leverage their control over Oculus, the augmented reality thing, to force people to have more of a Facebook account. So,
and remember the case against Microsoft, I think, wasn't it? They brought against the monopoly power of the Windows or whatever it was at the beginning there, and
Windows for the Internet Explorer browser.
Right. They had hardwired the only browser you could use would be theirs, and they made them so that you could use other browsers. For example, there have been other ways and times, and the ultimate great authority for all this, and the ultimate remedy is the silent hand of the marketplace. Adam Smith. At some point, people are going to turn up their nose at something if they don't like it, if it's got a taint to it. And because of the internet, especially because of the technology available, they'll go somewhere else. The kids don't do Facebook anymore. That's like for old guys, old people, and they go do whatever it is they're doing, TikTok or whatever it is this week. I'm old, so I don't know. But the marketplace will drive people to say screw this and go somewhere else.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh Stevens.
With regards to the Facebook matter as well, we also have to bear in mind that part of the antitrust involves the fact that they also have what I'd like to call other Facebook, which is Instagram, because they recently bought out Instagram. So keep bearing that in mind. They are essentially trying to form a monopoly in terms of social media. Now, I would encourage Dean or Jim to correct the record on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay, guys, did you hear that? Jim, did you hear Josh?
I did not hear Josh.
Oh, shucks. I say it again real quick, Josh. I didn't know that I was supposed to push this button. Go ahead, real quick. Just encapsulate it.
Facebook also bought out Instagram. Facebook is trying to monopolize the market of social media. Is this correct?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. I mean, even Zuckerberg has been quoted saying it's better to buy than to compete. You know, so of course that's true. And I saw on the news today that is being addressed by members of Congress. Okay. So anyhow, did I pressed the wrong button here? Geez, pressed both wrong buttons.
MZ,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Go ahead.
Question. Well, let's circle back just a minute. Why are you? Tell me again why you're so afraid of the power of the social media companies, because they can control.
No, I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of the power. I'm afraid that I think it's wrong that their genius, their brilliance in getting themselves to where they are, should be aided by special deals with the government. That's the only thing that bothers me. You know,
shouldn't be subsidized in a way. I guess.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. I mean, there is a valid concern about the power of big tech companies, because if you can limit the spread of opinions and ideas, you know, that in itself is very powerful, even if eventually it could be overcome. So if you want, and I think, you know, that's why these companies exercise their power that they did in this last election. They wanted to limit the spread of certain ideas and encourage a spread of other ideas, right? And did that have an effect on the political outcome of the election? Yes or no, right? That's a valid concern, but the remedy is not to, you know, get rid of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The remedy may come from elsewhere. The remedy may take a while, even if it doesn't affect this election. So, for example, if Twitter starts, suppressing, you know, conservative opinion, then maybe another platform will arise, like Parler or Gab or Rumble or whatever. It really starts clamping down.
Oh, geez.
I got it.
Right? Yeah, the Opal is dropping out now, so it's an internet problem. Jim, why don't you give us a call? Because
all right,
yeah,
I can do that.
All right, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Dean.
MZ, I'm sorry to disagree with you, but I got to tell you, I don't think that the election results was the product of sophisticated, subtle manipulation of mass information by special interests. I just think it was, frankly, it was just a sizing
Seven of the 9 Supreme Court justices agree with you and disagree with me.
I'm just saying that I think a lot of people, in plain English, my dear deceased grandma would say that they just didn't like that boy. They just, you know, it was a visceral reaction to.
There's no question about that. Trump evokes that and always has.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
No question about that. Hey, by the way, while Jim is calling in and reestablishing his connection with us, I want to. Well, you and I were together for a few minutes the other day, during which you made me feel very good. I was upset. I know. Well, Jesus, yeah. What does that sound like? Holy Christmas! You know, I say things like that.
I wanted to reassure you that I don't think the world is as bad as it is. I think some people right now are so overcome by virus fatigue, and they're worried about China, and they're worried about all these things coming down on them as boogeymen in the night. And I'm saying, hold on, focus. I think America is a very great country. We don't need to make it great again. It is great. I think, by God, it is great. We're doing very well. We have 300 and some odd million people. China has 1.2 billion people. It is a simple fact that China is coming on strong. They, a lot of it's because of stuff we gave them or allowed them to use or whatever. We trade with them. They exist. We can coexist. Yeah, they're clever and sneaky, and they have espionage and all that. Yes, we can fight that. And the only thing that really troubles me is that we're too busy fighting with each other. Abraham Lincoln said, something like, no foreign power will ever take a drink out of the Ohio River. The only way we'll fall is if we fight each other. And that's what really annoys me. It really concerns me. I don't know if it's because kids don't have enough training. There's no civics class anymore. They don't have enough American history. But they need to know that we've had tremendous stresses before. We've been divided before. We've had external threats before. And we'll do this. We're very different people in different places. We're not all the same way. Like the gentleman said earlier, they're going to vote on guns in Montana different than they're going to vote on guns in San Francisco, for example. But we're still Americans. We'll get there. And we should, not shoot ourselves in the foot. What do you think?
That's why I felt better, because when I first bumped into you, I was very depressed over, where things are headed. Yeah. And it's pretty clear that we are going to have a 4-year Harris administration, not Biden administration. Even Harris let it slip herself during the campaign. Josh, what?
This made me think about something real quick. So if this all does go to the courts and there is a Biden impeachment hearing, what I want to know is, are the NPR affiliates going to preempt all of their programming to showcase that hearing or not?
I don't know.
Like they did for the Trump ones?
If there's a Biden impeachment hearing, will NPR show it, cover it? What's your snide reference? That somehow that they didn't cover, or they did cover the Trump impeachment hearings? Is that what you mean?
Well, no, my snide remark is with regards to the fact that they stopped all the presses. They halted their music programming, which, by the way, I'm a fan of, to showcase the Trump impeachment hearings. They made it such a big deal about it. I wonder if they would make a big deal about it if it was an impeachment hearing over Biden, the liberal side of administrative affairs.
Josh, none of that's going to happen. He's not going to be impeached. He's going to step down, or he's going to not be ill. He's not going to be well enough to be the president. And Harris will be the president very soon, in my opinion. Very soon.
But I'm talking about with regards...
I would say if they're going to cover the president of the United States being impeached or hearings for that, yeah, I wish they would cover it. I would like to know what's going on. I don't want it to be hidden, even though it may interfere with music or game shows or something on the TV shows.
Okay, Jim is back with us, but I got to bring him on and lock him in here. Yeah. Okay, Jim, here, let me lock you. Well, here, I got to bring you in.
There you go. He's locked, Fader, too.
Right. He is, okay. All right, Jim, you want to comment on anything you've heard?
Right, Fader.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm okay. I mean,
MZ, stop censoring the man. Go ahead.
No. I think we're okay. What I will observe is that, based on my limited years on this planet, I've observed that the partisanship in terms of the political differences has gotten a bit more pronounced in the set as the years have gone by. Yeah, I mean. So yes, back in the 80s, back in 1980, if you wanted Ronald Reagan versus Walter Mondale or Jimmy Carter, people would disagree with you, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you're still friends, right? You can still hang out with people. You still hang out even though you're a Democrat and he's a Republican, whatever. Nowadays, I sense that there's less of that. People won't even want to associate with you anymore if you have a different political view. That I do know. We did have very violent riots over the summer based on political differences. I don't think we're going to have those riots now because I think one side is more prone to violence than the other. other. That's just my observation. But it is a concern because, again, we are dealing with people who are less likely to tolerate someone with a different political view. I mean, it used to be that, you believe in one thing, I believe in the other. We both have good intentions. We just have different opinions on how to get to that.
And we can agree to disagree, hopefully.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah, not anymore. Hey, Greg and Gilroy and Andres and Capitola have been waiting for a while. I'm going to try to get them on this hour. Otherwise, it'll be next hour here. What's happening here, Josh Stevens? Can I? Okay, here. Let me bring Greg and Gilroy on. Greg, you're on the air, real quick.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey. I had two comments, one on the election, one on the high tech. As far as my position on the high tech is, they're in a position of breach of contract. They developed a relationship with people and developed their content, which is now their product, based on an unpolitical, uncensored system. They called it YouTube, not MyTube. It's supposed to be ours, right?
Oh,
so I think they're
YouTube, not MyTube. Oh, that's very interesting.
That's what I think. I think they're in breach of contract, implied contract, but still in breach of contract. They get their power from, there was an offer, there was acceptance, and there's been value traded. As far as the election, President deserves his day in court. Remember, all men will have their day in court.
Yeah.
He hasn't had his.
And he won't.
He needs to be heard. But why wouldn't he have the same rights as anybody else?
I know. That's why I think the system, even the judicial system, has been corrupted, in my opinion.
Hasn't he had 51 days in court and lost them all, pretty much?
No, but he hasn't been able to put his case on.
No, he's been cut off at the knees, Dean. God, you're the first person who should recognize that. They've refused to even hear his case. That's my understanding. Have some courts heard the case and ruled against him? I don't think so. I think everything has been a situation where the courts refused to hear the case, period.
Well,
am I wrong?
They're preliminary injunctions. They're hearings to decide whether there should be an order, to freeze things, to stop things, or change things. And for that, you have to put on your evidence. It may be sort of streamlined, especially today with the virus. It may be declarations, but as I understand it, he's had a chance to put. He also, Giuliani put on live witnesses. It was in Michigan. They had hearings, and they had that little blonde lady with the glasses that got in there, and was just going on and on. And finally, Giuliani even told her to stop. She was way off the reservation.
All right, you know what I just realized? This is terrible. This is inexcusable. Josh Stevens, we haven't opened the show with the Hour One jingle.
We haven't.
We're going to do it right now, okay?
Good morning. A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, on KSCO Radio.
One of the ways I run my life is with the thought that it's better late than never. Well, at least we got the Hour One, Saturday special jingle done during the first hour of the program. And so we're about less than 30 seconds from the end of this program. Andres in Capitola.
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Yeah, Andres in Capitola, stay cool here, and we will get to you at the beginning of the top of at the hour.
Worth of delay at 17 northbound. It looks like there's also slow-going conditions at 17 southbound as well, just past Mount Herman Road. Outside of that, Highway 1's at the limit from Santa Cruz to Monterey. Highway 68 Monterey to Salinas moving along incident-free. 101 between Salinas and San Jose, there's only one slowdown just north of Salinas. That's going to cost you about 10 minutes worth of delay at this moment. Outside the KSCO studio, it's 55. Today, we're expecting the low 60s, partly sunny skies. Rain continuing tonight, 60% chance into Sunday. Lows in the mid-40s, highs in the upper 50s for your Sunday. and coastal flood advisory starting tomorrow into Tuesday. Time now for more Saturday Special. Let's begin hour 2 on AM 1080 KSCO.
Thank you, Josh Stevens. Dave Michaels.
Good morning, MZ. How are you?
Good. You're holding 3 bottles
Yes.
of products in your hand. And
Yes.
in your right hand, you are holding one of my favorite products, chewable vitamin C.
Right, chewable vitamin C tablets.
Oh, my God, that is so... I have never tasted a more agreeable chewable vitamin C than our longevity product, vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid because I didn't even know they made them. And then I walked into the Dave Cave one day and I said, this looks interesting.
Yeah.
So I got one, and I chewed several, and I read the label, and I see that it has xylitol, which is good for you.
Now, are they soft enough that you could just swallow them down, or do you have to chew
No,
them?
they're much too big.
Are
You'll
they?
gag. You have to chew them.
Okay.
Yeah, mandatory chewable.
All right. Well, the vitamin C, like you just mentioned, MZ, is a chewable form. There are 90 tablets in here, or 90 chewable tablets, I should say, in each bottle. These are $35. Again, one of the items that we have on sale out at the Dave Cave. Once you buy your Tangy Tangerine at regular price. Vitamin D3, everybody knows how important vitamin D3 is, as well as zinc. All 3 of these, MZ, have shown in studies, I haven't conducted any of these, but these are done at universities, to show, to strengthen your respiratory system. And we know what's going around out there right now targets the respiratory system. So if you want to make sure that your respiratory system is running at top notch, you want vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. And we have all of those in the Dave Cave. And once you buy your Tangy Tangerine at regular price, you're going to get 30% off of these and everything else in there. Tangy Tangerine is not on sale, but once you buy your Tangy Tangerine at regular price, everything else is.
Yeah, and I would stock up on Tangy Tangerine because usually what happens when something becomes so difficult to make, and usually the price goes up.
Right.
I mean, we haven't heard of that happening for sure, but I would stock up on Tangy Tangerine, either in the stick packs or the canisters.
Now, I'll be out there until 2 o'clock today. This is Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm out there every Saturday from 10 to 2. And next week, I'll be out there from 12 till 7. Now, if you're listening to a replay, this is a replay, you're listening to the podcast or something, and you missed out on the sale, or you just can't make it down to the Dave Cave, or maybe by some chance we don't have what you want, because Longevity sells thousands of products, over 1,000, I'm sure. Go to kscohealth.com. KSCOhealth.com.
And you can shop everything.
You can shop for everything that you've ever heard Dr. Wallach mention. It's all right there. KSCOhealth.com.
And I think even more. I better.
Oh yeah, he can't talk about all that stuff. I mean, you can even buy clothing and mineral makeup, and I guess women go crazy for mineral makeup. It's supposed to be some kind of big deal. I don't know, but they've got it for sale.
Can
there.
you buy pot?
You can buy CBD oil.
CBD.
Yeah, you can buy
close
CBD.
Enough.
Yeah, close
for
enough.
for government.
There you go.
Okay.
I'll be out at the Dave Cave until 2 today, MZ, all week. Next week from 12
Save
to
some
7.
of that zinc and D3 for moi.
How about this?
Definitely. Oh, good.
There you go. You got all 3 of them right there.
Right.
How's that?
Now I don't have to worry
Now
about.
you don't have to worry about it. So stop by the Dave Cave, pick up your Tangy Tangerine at regular price, 30% off of everything else. Again, the 30% discount does not apply to BTT, though. That's the only catch.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
All right, MZ.
Thank you. And guess what, Josh Stevens? Guess what? I'm not going to screw up.
Good morning.
Wait a minute. I just screwed up. This is what I mean.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Welcome to hour number 2 of a 2-hour program with 2 attorneys for less than the price of one. Pretty cool, huh?
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Andres. You're on the air. Andres. You're on the air with M. Dean Sutton and Jim Twu.
Thank you. You were talking about a national referendum.
I
have an idea that might be a good compromise that might meet the legal standard or whatever litmus test.
Oh.
What if, since we're all citizens, or many of us are citizens, why not allow us to vote in manners of D.C., District of Columbia? We're not residents there, but we're all citizens, and that is the seat of the federal government. Why not let us have some kind of say into the actions that happen there directly?
Dean and Jim, is it possible that Andres is a genius and has come up with a great practical idea?
Well, I have an even better one after that.
Yeah, well, how come? Oh, are you guys there?
I am here.
Okay, you're both there. Okay.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what that really means because, again, your representatives you elect representatives to go to D.C. and they're supposed to act on your behalf, right? So saying that you're voting in D.C., well, I don't think that really makes a distinction between that and a national referendum or direct democracy. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. If anything, I think that would be the only. Go ahead.
I just think it's possible that your caller's a genius, but no, I don't think that has any great practical use or help. It doesn't follow through.
Yeah. Okay. Even though I do have a comment on the previous caller, but wait. Andre still hasn't finished his question, so I'll let him get his question. Sorry, Andre.
The other idea was, MZ, you were talking about corporations and big tech and how they might be in league with some foreign countries and they could end up hurting us. So the idea for that, for the lawyers, is could there be a pledge of allegiance or an oath of allegiance implemented to all corporations? Because the state issues the corporations. Have the states require corporations to be under the same liability of allegiance to the people? And if they get enough complaints through, I don't know, the Commerce Department or whoever issues the corporation title certificates, have it be reviewed and revoked if they're found to be working, maliciously with people like China. People like China.
This is Dean. That is a very good question. Traditionally, historically, corporations are designed and are required to act solely for the benefit of their shareholders. That's the point. It's a business conglomeration, people, a separate entity, and it's supposed to act solely for the benefit of their shareholders. There's nothing really that makes them any kind of a social duty, some sort of a welfare system. They're not supposed to act for the benefit of the United States government or the people of the county or the people in the city. There's a lot of modern pressure, however, to put pressure on the boards of the boards of directors of the corporations to have, requirements to have equal pay or lesser pay or some sort of relationship between the executive pay and the guy that works at the bottom, the janitor's pay, or to have equality on the board, have more women or minorities on the board. The theory being that there is some sort of guiding hand, some supervening notion that corporations do have some duty to the public good, for the public good, and I'm sure there is pushback on that idea that somehow corporations should act, in the public good as well as for the shareholders. Jim?
Or at least not to be working with the enemy. I'm not asking for a handout from them. I'm just saying don't work with the bad guys. And if you do get caught working with the bad guys, then we're going to review your business and maybe pull your license.
Well, we better stop working with the bad guys and and stop having everything that we consume made in China. Don't you think we should set the example?
Yeah, change begins with yourself.
Yeah. Well, in terms of corporations and what their purpose is, I would be leery of what you're proposing because who defines what is a good public purpose or who the enemy is, right? Because
I'll volunteer to do that job.
Right. Well, that's where you get the problem, because people have different opinions about this. And then if you have the 50% plus one, then 50% plus one may not like what you're doing, and they can put you out of business, even if what you're doing is perfectly lawful. That's why I generally think our corporate laws are, corporation can form for any purpose that's allowed under the law. And then you let the regular general law take care of anything else. So if let's say you're a tobacco company, you sell tobacco products. It's like, well, if society doesn't think selling tobacco products is a good thing, they can make selling of tobacco illegal, not saying, well, we don't think you should have a corporation anymore. So, or if you are a company, let's say, manufactures guns, right? Well, there are a lot of people who think guns aren't good. So, right? And do you really want those people saying, well, you can't have a corporation that makes guns? Or, if society wants that, then just have the stones to pass a law that says, okay, you handle that problem. So, in terms of corporate, changing corporate laws, have to have a positive social corporate purpose. Again, that opens up, invites more problems than you would think that you would solve. That's just my take on it.
All right. The idea is good if you can identify the enemy. We've never quite figured out what China is. Is it should just be we should declare war and make it an enemy, or is it an opponent, or is it a trading partner? We had no problem declaring, Hitler and fascist Germany was the enemy, and there should be no fraternizing or assisting the enemy. But here, we have such an intertwined economic world. It's pretty hard to take a scalpel and cut off the us and the them.
Well, you could do it. You just for Germany, or when it attacked, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and then Germany declared war on us, declaration of war is okay. Now we have a declaration of war. Then you can point to that and say, okay, no, under the Declaration of War and the War Powers Act or whatever, no one's going to be doing business with the enemy, because now we've designated Germany or Japan as the enemy. But we don't have a declaration of war with China, China, right? We have frosty relations with China, but we haven't declared China an enemy. We just say that they've been doing things that we don't like.
Do you think we will soon do that?
We should
declare war with China?
Beat them in the marketplace.
No. Do you think we will declare China an enemy, which I think we should of yesterday?
Not with Joe Biden coming into office or Kamala Harris replacing him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, but I said, do you think we should? What did I ask? Do you think we will? Yeah, absolutely not with the incoming administration. Not with the incoming Harris administration, for sure.
Well, Congress declares war. Where's all the spines and all the congressmen in the Senate and the House?
Right. Dean is right. So
thank you for correcting. It takes a lot to declare war. It takes a lot to declare war on a country. You really got to do something really egregious to declare war, because people don't want to go. Generally, people don't want to go to war. That's my take.
Is electing the president of the United States from another country egregious enough?
Yeah, possibly. But then again, you got to be able to prove it. Uh-huh. And right now, we have an accusation that the Chinese interfered in our election, and we have some evidence, but that some evidence has yet to persuade any court of law that it occurs, whether or not it's enough to persuade public opinion.
They won't even let it be heard.
Yeah.
Well, they've had a chance. They've had a chance to put on evidence. They just haven't put on any persuasive evidence, as I understand it.
I wasn't aware of that, Dean. I thought they were the courts refused to hear it at all.
MZ, just FYI, doesn't this sound very familiar to what happened 4 years ago when Trump beat Hillary Clinton, and all the Democrats are saying,
yes,
well, the Russians...
Yes. I think about that a lot. I really do.
Yeah.
And
Now, granted, there's more evidence.
They spent 4 years trying to, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Republicans or the Trump supporters spend 4 years hounding Biden and Harris for the same reason, except I think they've got some more proof. Of course, that's what I believe. So of course I'm going to think that they're right, and that they're going to. Anyhow, I think the whole system is just it's beyond repair. I think it's time. I think it's the end of the Roman
Time for
Empire.
what?
Time for the
Come on.
end of the Roman Empire, except it's the end
You
of
want
the...
you want to be declared emperor, but other than that, what else do you want?
No, I don't want to be declared emperor. I just
He just wants to have power again.
I think the system is broken beyond repair. I really do. And I'm very depressed I've decided that I have to grab hold of myself and not be so depressed, because there's nothing I can do about what is happening.
Were you old enough to remember 1968, for God's sake?
Of course, I graduated high school that year, yeah.
Well, then we hit hard times before.
Nothing like this. We weren't talking. We weren't.
There was the hippies. Come on, there were the hippies versus the hard hats. This country was split down the middle with Vietnam and cultural, what we call the cultural wars now. This country was split down the middle. Every little town, every little village, every big city, people were at each other's throats.
No. It became very clear, Dean, because you were alive then too. It became very clear in '67, I think it was, when it became clear to President Johnson that he had lost Walter Cronkite and probably the majority of the American public, when he went on the air and he went on the TV and said, "I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president."
That's right. Yep.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah,
and it's that things were. How do I communicate this? My God, I'm having a hard time getting through to my friends here and my audience. That is nothing like what we're facing now. We're facing an end of freedom now. We were not facing an end of freedom then. Don't you guys get it?
End of freedom from what? From Facebook and the high tech, big tech.
No, freedom of our way of life.
Well, that's true. That is absolutely true.
Oh, you agree with me on that? Okay. Well, how come you're not depressed? How come you're jolly and saying, "Oh, it happens every 4 years," and then it flips the other way, and then 4 years down the line, Trump is going to run again, or his son, or somebody, and everything will flip the other way. It's too late, guys. It's too late. We are finished. If Kamala Harris becomes the president, which I predict she will very, very soon.
And what's she going to bring that's so bad? Socialism, communism, fascism? What do you mean?
Well, wait a minute. I have to modify that a little bit. Wait, no, I have to modify. I have to finish what I said first.
Okay.
If it won't happen, even if she becomes president, if the Senate is held by the Republicans. And I don't think the Senate is going to be held by the Republicans, because the rules, people say, oh, we're going to be watching what happens in the Georgia election. There's going to be more eyes on. But the rules haven't changed. They're still going to be able to cheat and screw everybody. They're going to be able to do it. And I will make a bet with anybody now that there is, and I shouldn't say a gentleman's bet, the kind where. Where you can't lose all your money. But I think that two Democratic senators will be elected in Georgia, because the same fixing of the election is going to be allowed.
Well, think about that a second. The best economy this country has ever had in the 20th, 21st century was when we had a Democratic president, Republican Senate. That was under Bill Clinton. We did well. We paid down the debt. We actually, paid down the national debt a little bit. We got ahead of it. We're doing really well during those years. And they counterbalance each other, and we had some reasonable people. Clinton was sort of towards the middle, and the senators worked with him. And it worked. I mean, as well as you can. It worked pretty well till
Fine. So you're strengthening my point. You obviously don't believe what I'm so depressed and believe truly in all my heart that there will be two Democratic senators elected in Georgia in January.
You believe in your heart that all of those little county election people, most of them Republicans in Georgia, are going to lie, cheat, and steal to pack the ballot box to elect Democrats in Georgia. Think about it.
Or, well, it's like this. It's possible that the Fulton County and the suburbs of Fulton of Atlanta, those precincts might have shenanigans. But given the hullabaloo, I bet you there's going to be more observers, and they're not going to. Then they're going to push back if there's any funny business going on. Plus, even if, let's say, you get 50, there are still a couple of red state senators who are Democrats who probably aren't going to be too keen on making, say, Puerto Rico and D.C. 51st and 52nd states, and they're not going to be too keen on packing the Supreme Court. Yeah. I mean, assuming I don't think Dianne Feinstein was a big fan of packing the Supreme Court, but now I hear rumblings that she's losing her edge and whatever,
and her mind, yes, and her mind.
Yeah,
So
which is
all right. Listen, we got a packed board, so let's take our next call. Oh no! What did I do? I hung up on. What's wrong with this system? It said I press take next and it hangs up on somebody. That's not right, Josh Stevens.
I
want to blame somebody. Why not you?
MC, you have shenanigans in your system. You're canceling out good votes and callers.
I know.
You're part of the problem.
Well, but
you shouldn't have used Dominion for your call system.
I'm not trying. We have to get Richard B. Luther II, our esteemed engineer, to fix this. All right, I better do this.
Jesus, who's echoing?
Someone has the radio on. Who is it? Is it Dean or is it Jim?
No.
John.
No, not me.
Not me.
You have John and Freedom on.
John and Freedom, turn your damn radio off.
Oh, I'm in another room.
Well, go to the other room and turn it off.
It sounds good now.
I'm in the other room.
Okay, good. All right. What did you call 479-1080 about?
Well, I was interested in asking the attorneys if it's required to have a license to contract with belligerent militia groups to teach the meaning of the original right mentioned in Moberg versus Madison that would enable all the citizens to protect their individual rights and even supplant the government of the United States and all the states. That's to either attorney.
Go ahead, Jim.
You need a license to do what? You don't need a license to contract services with militia groups, belligerent militia groups, to supplant the American government and the state governments also.
Sounds a little dangerous to me.
I believe the caller's a little bit confused there. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, yeah. In Moberg versus Madison, Chief Justice John Marshall said that if an act repugnant to the Constitution could be legally a supreme law of the land, and his answer was yes, the people have the original right to turn over their government anytime they find it necessary because the government is failing them.
Gentlemen, sir, that's Marbury versus Madison was in 1803, and it said basically that there was a fight about appointing judges and getting the delivery of the papers that made them judges. And Congress passed the law. And the question that came up before the U.S. Supreme Court is, if the Congress passes a statute that violates the Constitution, then does the Supreme Court have the power to say that, and in doing that, say that what Congress did, even though it was Congress elected by the people, is unconstitutional and therefore illegal? And that's what it says. That's really all it says. When it talks about an illegal act, they mean a statute passed by Congress. And if it violates the Constitution, then it's not enforceable. And it also established that the Supreme Court is the umpire, the one that has the power to say that.
Yes, except Chief Justice John Marshall asked the question, if a law repugnant to the Constitution can become the supreme law of the land. And his response was, yes, the original right that belonged to the people can actually be repugnant to the Constitution, but still become the supreme law of the land.
Well, the Constitution, it says it is the supreme law of the land, and any statutes and laws passed pursuant to it. So,
so you're saying that the people, if they, like in the Declaration of Independence, it says whenever this form of government or any form of government becomes destructive of the means for which it was created, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish.
That's right.
So that means that the repugnant acts of the Constitution can be changed into law by the people when they use their original right.
Well,
or at least that's how I interpret it.
This is getting too esoteric for my peanut-sized one-cylinder brain. Listen, John and Freedom, thank you for calling 479-1080. You did add to the program, but I can feel people in the audience glazing over now because I already have. What is it, Josh?
Now, may I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
All right. So, if we were to succumb to a Harris administration, do you believe, much like during the Obama administration, that they will come for your guns?
Yeah, I do. I don't know how, but I want to turn this around a little bit, okay? I know I didn't really answer the question. Yes, I do. So that is an answer to the question.
Very good.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think they are bound and determined to do it. Because you have to disarm a society if you want to remain in power. If you want to, that's what the Nazis did. That's what everybody's done who have been successful in creating power for themselves. They disarmed the community. Now, I don't know if they're going to get away with it. I don't think they're going to be able to so easily, but I want to turn, this is a perfect segue to what I wanted to finish the program. We have a full board of people who have called for reasons of their own already. But I want to pose this question. God help me for doing this, but I can't help it. Not on the last China Uberalis, but on the previous one to that, 2 Thursdays ago, they had a guest who was a retired general who said, who scared the hell out of me and a lot of people who were listening, when he said, I don't see any alternative but civil war for this country, regardless of who gets in as president. Now, we all know, I strongly believe that if Trump were to have been elected, or if he somehow gets reinstated and becomes the president again, there is going to be a civil war like you can't imagine. But And everybody I've talked to who is of a like mind and would like to see Trump be our president again agrees that if Trump somehow got to be the president for the next term, there would be death in the streets because the people would be they'd be so crazy, and it would be the Antifa type people, it would be the liberal type people, it would be the Democratic type people that would make this happen. But I never thought that if it went the other way, that if Biden gets to be the president on January 20th, or Kamala Harris before or after that, not before, but after that, that there would be a civil war also. That's what scared the hell out of me. I didn't think that Trump supporters were crazies in the sense that AOC supporters and Kamala Harris supporters are. I think they're friggin' violent nutcases. But apparently, this according to this general, it says it doesn't matter who gets in. Civil war in this country is right around the corner. He doesn't see any way that it's to be avoided. That scared the hell out of me. So why am I scaring the hell out of my audience, however small or large it is? I don't know. This This is what I'm thinking. And I thought we would put that out. So those of you who are on hold right now, I want you to give me your quick answer to that question. Do you think civil war is unavoidable in this country? That it's happening? We've reached a breaking point already, regardless of who gets in as president. Because that's what this retired general said on China Uber Alles two Thursdays ago. Okay, so let me put the calls back on here. We have guests Dean Sutton and Jim Twu, both attorneys, both connected with KSCO. And your calls, let's take the next caller. I think that would be Rich and Salinas. Rich, you are on the air on KSCO.
Thank you very much. I agree with you 100% what you just said earlier, last 5 minutes ago. We will end up in civil war either way, I think, because, well, like you said, Kamala Harris is coming in right away. If you remember, all this stuff about Hunter Biden has been suppressed for about the last 2 months.
Yeah, now everybody's talking about it.
Yeah,
and isn't that what Rush or the guest host for Rush said? Hey, that's what's happening now. Now we know what the plan is.
Yeah, we knew about it.
Is to throw Biden under the bus for the Harris administration immediately.
Right, exactly, and that's why it's brand new news on the regular media that we don't watch.
Yeah.
Because before it was suppressed. Well, they're doing it because Biden's going to be leaving very quickly, and he got what he wanted. He goes down as president of the United States on his resume, and he's gone. And he doesn't worry about being embarrassed because he doesn't know half what's going on anyway. So Kamala Harris is coming in right away. But I was telling Josh, I said the only way this is going to get resolved is if 3 of the 4 states, not including Georgia, but Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, if their delegates, their legislature votes for Trump so that Biden doesn't have the 270 votes. Then it goes to the Congress, and each state has 1 vote there. That's the only way right now where it's legally able to be done, other than martial law. If we're going to get to the bottom line on truth on this, I would suggest martial law, and then put everybody under the thumb, not to hurt anybody, but to find out where all this crap is, these lies and confusion. As far as California,
so you're advocating that Trump declare martial law while he still can?
It's not for him. It's to save the damn country. If we don't, they will have power. They will take over, and they will suppress everybody. You're not going to have a radio station to worry about.
Oh, seriously. Yeah, I know our days are numbered. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly. They're going to suppress everything.
Josh, have you lined up another job? I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
Well, I have looked.
Well, I think you better start lining up.
I got an KMBY interview next week
for your own survival. They've been talking about that for years. Well, this is now the time you better start doing stuff like that. I've been doing it for years. So I'm not going to die of starvation or water. I've got stuff stocked up all over the place, hoping this wouldn't happen, but it is about to happen. So if Trump doesn't take action that way while he's president, and declares martial law and say this is a government infiltration. And by the way, the Houston, remember the Houston embassy was closed for the Chinese government? They had a Chinese intelligence operation in there working to find people to put into Antifa for these riots. They were looking for people that would go along with this stuff. Soros was the guy who was paying them off. But China was looking for these people. Remember all the people that were released from prisons in all of our states? Those are the people they hired, those kind of people.
Yeah.
So they kicked them out of Houston, but it's too late. They already, this is where we are at this point.
Thanks for calling, Rich. Thanks for calling 479-1080. Here's another Richard in Pacific Grove. You're on, Richard.
Yeah, Michael, I totally agree with what the gentleman just said, and I totally agree with your feelings. We've gone way too far. I don't want to talk about the 60s. I don't want to talk about the 50s. It's a different country, okay? We've sold, our politicians and our lawyers have sold the country away. And I don't see how it's going to end without it being bloody. I love this country. I fought for this country. I've studied this country.
And maybe it will end with there being a liberal America and a conservative America. You know,
I
two
don't. I
states,
just
who knows? I mean,
no.
two different countries. You know.
Well, the reason I disagree with that is because I'm blocked on Facebook on 3 different sites. Okay, most of the people I know, after they disagree with what's being said, are being blocked. So we're not getting any information anymore. That's the beginning. You know, my little town, I live in Pacific Grove. All of a sudden, I have social warriors as city council people. I never heard that term before when they were running for election, but they come from Silicon Valley, and this has been a long-term process to take over the country. And because our education system is so flawed, the kids don't understand it.
Yeah.
It burns the hell out of me. I was sitting someplace last night, and somebody from one of the FedEx. I'll be honest with you, FedEx.
Yeah, be
he
honest
was talking
with us.
on the phone. Yeah, he was talking on the phone to somebody, and you know, he looked like he was 25, 26, and he's talking about, where you at? Where you at? You got your car? Where you at? When you know? And I mean, you can just see that. Wow. And we're expecting these type of people to sit down and think about some very, very serious problems that we're having in the country. And I just don't think they're capable of it because they purposely have been dumbed down. We were warned about this 50 years ago, and it's happened. I was in UCLA in 1972, and I had a professor tell me that. We're going to start dumbing down America. That's how it's going to happen. Yeah. And I'm telling you, here we are. You're totally right, Michael, about all this nonsense.
I sure wish I was wrong, and I keep everybody I put on the air here. I wish they would talk me out of it. Like I've sort of been talked out of how realistic it is to have a national, initiative by both Jim and Dean, who are both on the air with us still. If you guys want to,
yeah, no.
So, but listen, I want to get to every caller before the show finishes. Okay,
Michael, your guests are talking theory. You know, it's like you let murderers out on the street and you give him enough food, a nice house, he's going to be a nice guy. They're talking all this beautiful theory, but that's not the way the real world works. I'm a warrior. I've seen how the real world works, and we're gonna be stuck in it. And millions of people are going to die because of the stupidity that we're seeing. Okay, thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Bill in Santa Cruz, you're on the air.
Yeah, MC, I want to make you happy and sad at the same time. You are absolutely right. The Constitution has been ignored. The Supreme Court has not upheld it. I could go into detail, but there's no time. And we're heading toward a situation, I don't know if it'll even be in my lifetime, but it'll be before too many generations, in which the laws of this country are totally meaningless. The only law that prevails is, and there's a quote from Mao Zedong, power grows out of the barrel of a gun. And I don't know what that dinging is.
Yeah. You're not getting out of your car? Because that's what that dinging sounds like.
Me. So, that was me.
Okay.
That was somebody else. Okay.
Who was that? That was Dean?
No, that was Jim.
That was Jim. Okay, well, at least Jim is honest.
Try to be.
But anyway, that's the crux of what I had to say.
All
I can say more, but I'm sure you have other callers.
You are absolutely correct. Another caller, much like Tony in Live Oak. Tony, you're on.
Yes, I'm not with you at all. I've decided to stay with Trump for the moment because he's actually in the Supreme Court of Wisconsin right now, being told whether or not they're going to throw out the results of the Wisconsin election. And that was on your own news, and I'm surprised that you didn't take that into account. Your depression is not well placed yet. I mean, there's still a shot.
It's premature, huh?
Yeah, I told you I gave up I actually figure you won the vote, that he did win by a landslide, but there's so many mathematical impossibilities that have happened that I have decided that he did win by a landslide, that you won the bet, and I hope that makes you feel better.
No, I wanted to lose. Wait, won the bet? What was the bet this time? I'm all discombobulated.
Okay, yeah, you had a bunch of guys that wanted to bet you $10,000 that Trump would lose or something before the election.
No. That was.
Colonel Terry.
No, it was Cosmic Joe. Cosmic
Okay.
Joe brought
Well,
in the $10,000.
so I called in the last couple of minutes and bet you a cup of coffee at McDonald's that he would not win by landslide, but that he would win.
Yeah.
And you said, well, he will win by landslide. Well, that you thought you were wrong 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I think that mathematically speaking, you were absolutely correct. And we should start an organization of what would Donald have done every time Joe Biden, if he ever gets in. I don't think he's going to.
Okay.
Just we start up what would Donald have done and counter everything that they do with what Donald would have done, and he'll be.
In other words, behave like sore loser Democrats, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate your call.
Okay.
John in Prunedale, the Civil War aspect. Go ahead, John. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Hey, MZ, how's it going today?
Great.
Good. Hey, I just wanted to touch base with you on this whole question of civil war. I think we're already in one, but the reason it's inevitable, and I agree with that, General, the reason it's inevitable is basically has to do with the behavior of the left. And, you know, as human beings, we only have 2 ways to resolve conflict: reason or force. And that's it. That's the only 2 ways: reason and all of its manifestations, and force and all of its manifestations. It doesn't have to be physical. It could be just intimidation, blackmail, whatever. The left, over the last few years, has consistently shut down the avenues of reason. They've refused to cooperate. They've refused to compromise. They're not interested in talking with us. They're not interested. They're interested in defeating us. And as such, they are shutting off all avenues to reason and compromise. And that only leaves us one avenue to deal with each other, and that's brute force. And that's where I think we're headed.
Do you agree with the general then that civil war is unavoidable? And do you think it will be a civil war that will be fought with bullets and bombs and tanks and things on our own soil?
No, it's not gonna. It's gonna be an asymmetric type situation. In other words, you will have targeted situations. You'll have, the people. Essentially, what will happen is at some point, the extremes, especially on the right, is just going to decide that's it. We've had enough. And you'll have things like, random bombings, assassinations, things like that. I don't think we're going to be fighting each other in the streets, no. But I think that is violence inevitable? Yes. I don't think it's going to be like the first Civil War, no.
Right.
But violence is coming. Okay. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, that general sure scared me, and I hate to admit that I think he might be right.
Well, and again, I just wanted to close by saying this has been brought to you courtesy of the left. Okay, the liberals of the 60s and 70s would never have contemplated doing what these people are doing to us now. They have decided that they don't want to live in our house anymore, our collective house. They want to have their own house. Right. So I'm sorry, but I don't see any way out of it. Right. I really don't.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling 479-1080, John in Prunedale. Here's Steve Lightfoot. So, Steve, did you make it on to Flight 1080 that day? We left you a message, on the 40th anniversary of John Lennon's.
I guess I missed it because I'm one of these troglodytes who doesn't check his email often enough. But thanks for
voicemail. Did you ever get it?
I probably did, but I'm such a troglodyte. I've never texted in my life.
On December 8th, Dave and I were talking, and it was one of the saddest days of my life when John Lennon was assassinated on December 8th, 1980, which was exactly 40 years ago this week. And we thought you would be an excellent guest on Flight 1080. But anyhow, you're calling for something else, the takeover of the USA, right?
Yes, we're witnessing, in spite of the fact that we still have our guns and the Second Amendment and free speech, I think the Chinese and the Soviets, or the former Soviets, Russia, and probably Saudi Arabia, the big triangle that I see, are making their move because they have to do it now, or it'll be too late once we jail Stephen King for killing John Lennon. It will be too late then. Then their whole gig is up.
Right.
And we are paying the price for not avenging John Lennon. We are paying the price. And that's the COVID is part of our punishment. I mean, we got to grow a spine. We've got to jail Stephen King. We've got to get our heads screwed on straight, or we're going to lose this country.
Okay. All righty. Thanks for calling 479-1080. Jim, Twu, and Dean Sutton. Got about 8 minutes left. We have one caller that's being screened, another one who's calling in right now. But you guys, are still on with us, and maybe you have some thoughts over the last few callers, of the last few callers.
I don't think civil war is inevitable because we always have disagreements. I do believe that there is a part of a plan to change the mindset of the American way of thought for years and decades. It's taking effect, and the question is, are we willing to engage in the marketplace of ideas to compete against the ideology that America is not a great place, or that America is a bad country, or whatever the woke, politically correct social justice warriors are pushing down our throats. I think that fight's still worth fighting for, but I don't think it's lost. I don't think we're inevitably going to lead to a civil war, because it's still worth fighting for. We lost in 2000.
I totally agree with you. I've been very depressed in the last few days, but I totally agree with that statement. It's worth fighting for till the death. It's worth fighting for this country.
But I don't think violence is, a violent civil war is inevitable. I don't think it's possible, but I don't think it's inevitable. You keep fighting for your ideas in the marketplace of ideas.
Okay. All right. We do have a caller, Connie in San Jose. Connie, what's up?
It's actually Carly, but...
Oh, Carly,
whatever.
okay.
You're good. I was going to make a few comments about what you guys were talking about earlier with the Civil War in the left. And I'm curious as to why we're too worried about it. A lot of these people don't necessarily... they get upset over words and all these little things.
Well,
so how are they ever
I'll just tell you that if Trump were president, he'd put a stop to it very, very quickly. If Biden or Harris are either one of them is president, I don't think they're going to put a stop to the Civil War. I really don't. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I believe.
Inauguration day, to be honest with you.
Say it again. What?
I don't believe Biden will even make it to Inauguration Day. I think they're just trying to get Kamala Harris right up there to where she can take over, and we know how well she's done over here.
Yeah. Okay. So, sounds like you're depressed too.
Yeah, I'm a 24-year-old.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean. Dean.
I don't understand all the depression. I mean, come on, you guys, perk up, stop, lay off the decaf and calm down. The country's in pretty good shape. Who's supposed to be doing the Civil War? Is it North and South? Is it East and West?
It's liberals and conservatives. That's it.
Well, it's more like the country mouse versus the city mouse. If there's a clash of values and morals and mores, it's more agrarian, it's more rural people who have guns and have their lifestyle, as opposed to the people that live like bees in apartment buildings in cities. I do get it. There's obviously a very big different life experience there, and they look at things different ways. And people in cities think guns are dangerous because there's no reason for them that they can see except for shooting other people, as opposed to living on a farm where there's a lot of good reasons for it. I'm a gun guy. I'm a Second Amendment guy, and I try to explain to my city folk, city mouse people, how important it is to people in the country, and but that's nothing new, and that's nothing world-ending. It's nothing that's going to shake the republic. The republic will stand. We've gone through much worse than this. We do need to keep listening to each other and talking to each other, and we shouldn't break up into camps. The country right now is sort of a nanner. It's like grade school where they have the shirts and the skins, and if you say something, I'll just say the opposite, and we'll just chatter at each other like squirrels or something. There's a lot to be done. We've got to get together and just get it done. And, you need somebody that kind of pulls people together, not pushes them apart.
Well, apparently a lot of people would say that Donald Trump was not that person. I think a lot of people would say that Kamala Harris is not that person. So who is?
Well, okay, what? Wait a minute. Back up a minute. She's in many ways very conservative. She's a prosecutor. She was a district attorney. She was an attorney general. She's a U.S. senator. She's not some wacko unicorn chasing, wacko. I mean, I don't know her personally, but I don't get a vibe that she's some sort of, crazy starry-eyed, wacko. Where does that come from? Where are you getting that?
Well, most people get it from her voting record. It's very, very left. But again, I think the difference is that over time, we've come to conclude that people of different political views are not the difference between what you think is the best way of getting something done versus what I think is the best way of getting something done. It's become more of good versus evil, right? I believe in is good. What you believe in is evil. And that's the problem with a lot of the rhetoric it's always been a problem in political rhetoric and in democracies. But I think over the past, say, 20 or 30 years, it's become more prevalent. And I think if it goes along that path, then yes, theoretically we could have a shooting civil war, but hopefully cooler heads will prevail. And I think we might be starting to see in the big cities like Seattle and Portland, where one side basically controls everything, even they're starting to have fights amongst themselves, and maybe they'll start realizing that just because you have a difference of opinion doesn't mean that justifies you beating them up or committing violence against them. And then from there we can start getting back to where we need to be.
Do you think Jim sounds reasonable, Dean?
Yes, I do.
Jim, do you think Dean sounds reasonable?
He sounds reasonable and smarter than me. He does. he definitely came more prepared.
Very clever.
There you go.
Well, anyhow, so all right. Listen, I want to say that I think the world of you guys, and thank you for both agreeing to be on the program. I'm sure you realize that it wasn't going to be adversarial. I don't like adversarial things, but sometimes there needs to be, as long as we can practice it with respect and dignity and so forth, and have a program that people can understand and where people aren't talking over each other like on Fox News and other places. So anyhow, all the best to everyone. Hopefully we will be back next week with another Saturday special and a whole lot of other.
We appreciate you, MZ. We appreciate you, MZ.
Oh, thank you. So, okay. Thank you, Dean, for doing your best to make me not feel as depressed. And thank you, Jim, for explaining everything, and to both of you. So that's it, folks. Josh Stevens, thank you for being a great pilot in command as usual.
Thank you.
And
are you gonna sing?
No, it's too late for the sing. If people would have, if I would have been requested earlier, I would have done it. But now.
That's all, folks.
You're listening to KSCO.